All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to our webinar on the OED's call for proposals. So, Joyful is my colleague from the OED, and we might have a few other colleagues joining shortly. So, we are streaming this session on YouTube. We are streaming the session on YouTube, so you'll have a recording to watch later, or if you want to share it with other people who weren't able to join today. Thanks, Joyful, for the link. Um, we also have a few Zoom polls that will, pop out every now and then. Nothing challenging, just to know who you are, what kind of background you have. So just to get started, I will go into the presentation. We have a presentation which might take maybe 25 minutes or so. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll take you through the application form. And then we'll have time for questions as well. All right. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the 2026 call for proposals. The OED has been running this call since 2012, so it's been a while now. I think this is our 15th year of running the call. And over the years, we have invested 1.5 million euros into projects around the world that have created a positive impact on communities through astronomy. So that is essentially the aim of the call. It's to create impact on society using astronomy. We are not funding astronomy research, nor astronomy conferences, travel funds, scholarships. So those kinds of initiatives or requests will not be funded. Rather, we ask you to think, what is the role for astronomy in making the world a better place, which is our tagline. The OED's tagline is Astronomy for a Better World. Oh, okay. So, what is Astronomy for Development? In summary, it is about creating that societal impact through any aspect of astronomy. It can be the technologies that are used in astronomy, the methodologies, even the research coming out of astronomy. If you can apply it towards development, then that's what we're looking for. So the proposal that you write, it must address a development challenge. We have seen in the past proposals asking for funding to promote astronomy. While that is important, that is not the mission of the OAD. There are other structures within the IAU and other organizations that promote astronomy. So we are not interested in promoting astronomy. We are not interested in creating more astronomers. We're not interested in disseminating astronomy knowledge. They're all worthy goals by themselves, but that is not the core mission of the OAD. Those can be byproducts of your project, but the core of your project must address development, and development it deals with questions of social economic development, creating better infrastructure. So I'll talk about it a bit more, but essentially our development framing is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, there are 17 SDGs as they're called, and they range from reducing poverty, establishing gender equity, promoting quality education, creating better life for people, taking climate action, and so on. So there are 17 goals. You'll see the links to the SDGs in the application form and on the OED website. You can go and Google it. So you'll find lots of information about the SDGs. So that is what we mean by development, not promoting astronomy. But of course, there must be an element of astronomy in your proposal. Um, because that is again, who we are. We come from astronomy. The IAU is an astronomy body, so the funding is tied to projects that use astronomy in some way to impact on development. And I have to say this again, that astronomy for development, as we define, is it's about the people. It's about making creating a better planet. It's not about researching the stars. It's not about astrophysics research. What kind of projects can you propose? So again, addressing some questions that we commonly get asked. Uh, um, Astronomy education, astronomy outreach. There are very big communities all over the world that who are very passionate about reaching out to students, to the general public, and talking to them about astronomy. So again, if your project is purely astronomy research, which means, outreach, which means just reaching out to more people and telling them about astronomy, sharing astronomy knowledge, then it is more suited for the IAU's Office for Astronomy Outreach, which is a different office. Our office is focused on development, so we don't fund outreach projects. Nor do we fund education projects, for which there's another office, the IAU Office of Astronomy for Education. So they fund education projects, and the outreach office funds outreach projects. But if you have a development goal that is achieved through an outreach project or through an education project, those kinds of proposals are, of course, welcome. What do I mean by that? So if you establish, for example, that a development challenge that you're trying to solve is the lack of confidence or interest in science and mathematics among learners or students, right? Then you say you have a astronomy education program that is structured in a way in order to tackle this challenge. So the program uses astronomy not simply to teach the kids about astronomy, not just to give them knowledge of astronomy, but to make science and mathematics less intimidating to students, to inspire them to follow careers in STEM. Those can be linked to development goals. So in that case, the proposal is totally fine. But if it's purely just reaching out to students and talking to them about astronomy, then it is not applicable to this call. Similar answer to the next one, astronomy training projects. If you want to run a astronomy workshop for school students, university students, some other audience, the ultimate goals of the workshop must be development oriented. So you must figure out what sort of local contextual development challenges that the training can solve through astronomy, and not necessarily simply end at, okay, the students are trained, because then the links to the development goals are not clear. Um, we have also received proposals and queries from people who want to purchase equipment, telescopes, other astronomy equipment, um, in order to run outreach activities. So again, these are not funded through this call because those are outreach programs, outreach projects. But if you link that to development, if you say, okay, I need to buy a telescope to set up a astrotourism program that will create employment for these people in rural areas, then yes. So you mustn't center your entire idea around just buying a telescope. I'll again talk about it in a bit, but the core must be the development challenge, and then you build out your idea around, okay, what are the different ways in which I can tackle this challenge. Just to continue on that, we have some priority areas at the OAD. We have what we call themes and flagship areas. You will find these listed on the website. So we have three major themes that we focus on, and each of those themes has one flagship project under it at the moment. So we have theme one, astronomy for socioeconomic development, and the flagship project under that is astrotourism. Actually, Joy, I don't know if you want to just give a very brief description of the themes and the flagships. I can
Oh,
take over
okay.
letting people in.
Hi everyone. So I'm Joyful Mjuli and I coordinate our flagship projects within the OED. So like Ram mentioned, there's the three themes that we focus on within the office. So the first one looks at astronomy for socioeconomic development. So within the OED itself, our flagship project is on astrotourism, but that does not limit projects to just focus necessarily on astrotourism. Any form of socioeconomic development that can come out of astronomy is what is supported under this theme. So, for example, last year we supported a project in India that was looking at training first grade female graduates into making their own telescopes and becoming entrepreneurs using astronomy. So, within the OED itself, we focus on astrotourism. We have resources on astrotourism. We have an online course available for anyone on astrotourism, but we also have a dedicated person that does monitoring evaluation that can assist in terms of, monitoring evaluation as with tourism related projects as well. And then when it moves on to the Astronomy for Humanity theme, we have a flagship project on astronomy for mental health. So this is basically a combination of how we can use astronomy for mental well-being. So we have a dedicated person that is doing research on that. They're doing their PhD on this, but also helping in terms of creating resources for people who might be interested in implementing this flagship project. And then the third one looks at astronomy skills for knowledge, astronomy skills and knowledge for development. So this is how can we use the skills that we have within astronomy to tackle challenges outside of astronomy. For example, like you can implement it in other data sets that don't necessarily revolve around astronomy. So this one focuses a lot on the Hack for Dev program. So those who are familiar with the work that has been done by the OED and its partners, we have this initiative called Hack for Dev, Hackathons for Development. And this has primarily been a skills development program where we bring together undergraduate students and postgraduate students, either before an African Astronomical Society conference or for other initiatives. And basically the aim of this is to bring together students to share knowledge, skills, but also as well come up with innovative solutions towards a certain specific data set. And yeah, those are the three flagship projects that we have at the office. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Joy. So when you are designing a proposal, keep these themes and flagships in mind. You don't have to necessarily submit a proposal that aligns with one of them, but it is highly encouraged. So the funding decision will not be based on whether your proposal is aligned with the themes, but like I said, we know that these flagships, these themes, they do have an impact and they work. So we encourage you to consider using them. Right. So the total budget for this call for the entire round is 60,000 euros. So typically, we fund projects to the tune of 5,000 euros, 6,000 euros in average. So, we would fund about 10 projects for this call. The funding is given for a period of 1 year. So it is expected that all your deliverables are completed within this time. There is some flexibility there. We can give you an additional few months to complete your project if there are delays or other circumstances. That is not a problem. But the grant agreement will be signed for a period of 1 year. So, what are we looking for in a proposal? The first two things I already mentioned, development focus. So you must have a very clear development goal or one or more development goals that you are going to solve. Goals that you're going to reach. And number two, there must be a well-established and clear connection to astronomy. We have in the past funded some projects that could be considered space, but there are very close interactions between space and astronomy. So that is dealt by on a case by case basis. If you have any questions, particular questions, you can ask me later. Uh, and then we want projects to be run by interdisciplinary teams. So if you have an astronomy background, um, but you're trying to run a development project, then it is expected that you have the access to the right expertise, you have the right people in your team. If you are working with people in refugee camps, we just talked about a project this morning. One of our projects from 2026 is working with students, well, young people in refugee camps. So it is expected that they will have counselors, psychologists, um, teachers, and so on in their team. So it cannot just be a team of astronomers running the project. Outcomes and deliverables, I would say spend at least a third of your proposal development time in refining your outcomes and deliverables. This is what matters to us the most at the end of the day, because we are looking at what will your project achieve? What is the potential for impact for your project? So we like photos, we like nice videos and testimonials, but what we really want to know is whether your project made a positive impact on people's lives. And that means having very clear outcomes in place. Again, I'll talk about what is an outcome in a second. Clear budget, I think that is a given. And then there's a few other items that we'll ask for in stage two. So this right now, only the stage one call for applications is open. Just some general pointers. First one is make sure that when you're proposing a project that it responds to a need in the target audience, a need in the community, and not a project that you are passionate about. It is fine to be passionate about something, but just do a little bit of research to know whether your project will make a difference in people's lives, or perhaps there's ways that you need to adapt the project in order to have an impact on people's lives. Just to give you an example, again, people have in the past submitted proposals to do some outreach for astronomy, astronomy outreach to let's say people in remote areas. So this is a noble cause, but the question is, what is this astronomy outreach going to do for the people? Is it going to change their lives for the better? Is it something that the people need or looking for? So think of all of that before you design your project. SDGs, I talked about the Sustainable Development Goals earlier. We have a question on the form where we ask you to select one or more SDGs. So look at the SDG indicators that accompanies each of the SDGs. So, for example, there's a SDG on reducing poverty, and that one will have a number of indicators corresponding to it, which will break down that broad goal into very specific goals. So use that in preparing your proposal, because when you say improved education, it is such a broad goal. It is very difficult to conceptualize what that means in practice. So use the indicators. Again, if you just Google for UN SDG indicators, you'll get the list. And there is a link on the application form. Pick few SDGs. We say pick up to a maximum of 3 because it's important to be focused. And of course, check what's been done already. The OAD itself has funded more than 250 projects. You'll find the list of projects on the website. Look at what people have done. And there's so many other organizations that are doing wonderful work supporting such projects all across the world. So just do a bit of research to see what's been done already and try to build on that. Right. So outcomes, outputs, deliverables. Uh, Deliverables and outputs are the same. So we ask for both outcomes and deliverables in the proposal, and I will explain what they are. All right. So when you're running a project, you have inputs and you have outputs, the results of your project, right? So you have inputs, and that includes people, funding, any other resources that you may have, networks, connections, and so on, right? So these are all the inputs, and you're going to invest these inputs into developing a number of activities. So workshops, trainings, classroom activities, resource development, whatever. So these activities will result in what are called outputs. So these are like the immediate tangible results of your project, and these will be the number of people reached, materials that are produced by the project, number of schools visited, and so on. So I think these three items are commonly used terms and well understood: inputs, activities, outputs. Now, when it comes to outcomes, it refers to what are the changes that have been created within the target audience as a result of your activity. So you went to a school, you did a number of workshops and other activities for the students. Everybody's happy, you got lots of photos, but what was the effect of of the project, of the activities, on the students? Did it improve their mathematics and science learning? Did it increase their interest in STEM? Did it help them in some other way, right? So we are interested in the sort of real world changes in the audience that are a result of your activity. So in the application form, like I said before, focus on these outcomes because this is what interests us. Outputs, I think these are fairly standard, easy to figure out as you design the project. Outcomes, I think, needs a bit more thinking. And usually, what we recommend to people, and this is also sort of standard practice in across philanthropy, people say you start with the outcome. So you want to submit a project, don't start with the activities because then you're trying to fit the activities to the existing context, to the environment, to the reality on the ground. Rather, start with the outcomes. So, what are the changes that you want to achieve in your target audience? Like I was saying earlier, you want to increase the learning levels of students, especially in science and mathematics. You want to create employment in a rural area, going back to that point about astrotourism. So start with the outcomes and then work backwards to see, okay, what are the activities you need to develop in order to achieve those outcomes. Usually we do it the other way around. We start with the activities and then we try to retrofit the outcomes, which doesn't always work out well. So my advice is start with the outcomes and then figure out if you need a telescope or if you need something else. If you need to completely change the design of your project from what you had before, because the outcomes demand that you do it a certain way. So there are different ways to reach the same outcomes, but of course you're looking for the most efficient route to do that. And finally, impact. The OED doesn't really measure impact or deal with impact because this is let's say it's a higher order ask. So the impact considers which of the outcomes was achieved because of your project. Because remember, in the real world, your activity is running in parallel with a number of other activities, right? So if you think of astrotourism, you train people in a rural area, maybe they start earning money, but perhaps at the same time the local government was running a tourism campaign, and that's what actually attracted visitors. So impact tries to measure what were the outcomes that were a result of your astrotourism training versus all the other interventions that the audience was exposed to in the time. So we don't really deal with impact, so you can ignore that. But what we want, what we're really interested in, are the outcomes. So make sure you spend quite a bit of time on your outcomes. Right. We do offer proposal writing support. You'll find more information on the website. So we understand that most people might not have experience writing proposals, especially because IAU OAD call is is such a niche call. So we will support anyone who needs it. What we do is we will match you with someone within the OED or the astronomy community or some other expert who knows how to develop proposal, who has experience. So we will match you up if you need help, but do send us an email request by May 14, which is next week. We also offer translation support. This is on a best available basis. So we have regional offices all over the world, and some of these regional offices are also language offices, so they are available to support any translations. But I think you know of many tools available these days that do a great job at translating from any language into English. So the final proposal must be submitted online in English, and you're welcome to use any free tools that are available for your translation or for proposal writing. So I made a point here about AI tools. We don't restrict the use of any AI tools. You're welcome to use them. The suggestion is that you develop the initial draft or idea yourself, and then feed it to AI to improve it, rather than using AI to fully generate a proposal, which may, actually not be the proposal that you want. And even though AI tools are developing rapidly, if you rely completely on those tools, sometimes it's obvious that the proposal was written by AI, not by a human. And in those cases, it won't score as well, because it doesn't really talk to the context on the ground. All right, so let me stop here and ask if anyone has questions. After the questions, we'll move on to the application form. Joyful, are you keeping an eye on the chat? Any questions there? Oh, yeah.
Well, I have a question that I was asked earlier, but I feel like it's applicable to everyone. So someone asked me if they could propose projects that were previously funded by the OED, even though it's not from the same project proposer.
Meaning, do you know who asked that question?
I don't know, it was on my Instagram.
Oh, okay. Yes, you can propose the same project again. Obviously, it must be tuned to your context. It must, consider the local conditions in your target region. And, we encourage you to reach out to the person who originally ran the project as well, in case they have any advice or they're able to give any support. I see another question about, oh, yeah, Lebo?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hi. Sorry,
Hi.
thank you very much. I wanted to quickly just ask in terms of the inputs, in terms of the resources you will want, because this is a call within a budget that you guys are recommending per project. Is it recommended that maybe projects put the resources that their project need in line with this budget, or can
So,
we dream bigger or lesser? What would be more practical for you guys to read it in such a way that it's practical? I don't know if you can hear. I think my sound is a bit problematic here.
yeah, no, I heard you. So the question is about the budget. Ask for what you think you need in order to run the project, but keep in mind those historical limits, because we cannot give you 100,000 euros. We don't have that. And projects, all applicants really are strongly encouraged to consider other funders, especially local funders, governments, universities, other institutions. Um, think of in-kind contribution. So if someone is able to uh, donate a telescope to you or loan you a telescope for the project, that saves a lot of money. And I itemize those budget items, those items in the budget as well. Um, the average that I mentioned, the 5,000, 6,000 euros, that's been our historical average. But maybe if I consider external funding, the average for a project might be closer to 10,000, because there are in most cases projects get some support from others. Um, yeah, does that answer your question? Jai?
Thank you, Rama. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fine, fine. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm learning a lot through this conversation. I want to find out two things. Um, for instance, I'm already doing a project with you, and I have colleagues who want to do this, apply for this project, but they have no idea how to go about it, and they reach out to me to say, "Want you to be part of the team."
Mm.
Would I accept to be part of the team? Meanwhile, I've already, but not as a PI, because currently I'm
Yeah.
a PI, not as PI, but be part of the research team, so that I'm able to guide here and there. Or I shouldn't, because our project is not yet concluded. That is one question. Then the other one is, do you have special AI tools that you recommend for translation or transcription that
Mm.
one can use? Thank you. Those are the two questions I had for you. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, the first question, that is entirely up to you. There are no restrictions from our side. You can participate in other projects, of course, depending on your time, resources, and so on. So you can do that while your current project is still running. For the AI tools, so I know our colleagues at the Office of Astronomy for Education use a tool called, or used to use a called DeepL for translation. I don't know if this tool is still working or not. If anybody knows about this tool, or if you have other recommendations, please add it to the chat.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Rama.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't see any other question. Okay. So let's move on to the application form. Right. Uh, So hopefully you've seen the page on the website, the call for proposals page. At the end of the page, you have to read through the information and scroll all the way down. You'll see a button called apply, and that will take you to the application form. So we've sort of put the application button right at the end, so people will go through the information on the page. And then when you get to the application page, you'll see a option, you'll see links to download the Word version, the PDF version, so you can prepare your responses offline before you submit the final application. First section is just demographic information. Okay, so this is the application, name, email, all of that. Which countries your project will target? I think these are easy. Okay, so project summary. We say this every year. Project summary is very important to to create that first impression on the reviewers. So all applications will be reviewed by an international panel of evaluators. We will anonymize the applications. We'll remove the name and emails. That's why we also say later in the proposal not to refer any names. So everything will be anonymous. It will be sent to this international review panel. The OED does not evaluate the applications. That is why we are able to support you directly in the application design process. But this is your first impression, main way to impress the reviewers, their first interaction with your proposal idea. So make sure you spend quite a bit of time refining your project summary. Again, you can use AI tools, but don't start with that. Write your own draft and then improve it with AI tools. But in the summary, what we recommend is to briefly state your problem, your context, the problem that you're trying to solve, what is your solution, and what exactly will you be doing. So sometimes we've seen proposals with one short paragraph summary that doesn't really give any information on the proposal idea, which means the evaluators have to go back and forth trying to piece together the proposal idea, and sometimes they don't get the full idea because information is sort of just um, dissected across several questions and it doesn't make sense together. So would say spend as much time as you need to refine this project summary. And then the next one is target audience, which is multiple choice. So that's easy. Development challenge. So I talked about the SDGs. So here you describe what are the challenges that you're trying to solve for. Make sure these are development challenges. Just to emphasize, lack of astronomy education is not a development challenge. Lack of astronomy research is not a development challenge. So tie in the challenge, the problem that you're trying to solve into a development issue. And then 8B, you choose the SDGs, choose a maximum of 3 SDGs. And I think, yeah, here is a link to the SDG indicators I was talking about earlier. And then we come to the deliverables and outcomes. We want to know how are you going to use astronomy to achieve your SDG goals. So a common way to answer this question is to simply list each of the 3 SDGs that you chose in the previous question. Let's say you chose SDG 3, 4, and I don't know, 7. So for each SDG, just briefly, bullet points. How do you think astronomy applies in the situation where you want to target SDG 3, and similarly for 4 and 7 and so on? And deliverables, so these are the outputs. If you remember the graphic from earlier, the immediate tangible results of your project. So workshops, educational materials, presentations, manuals, etc. If you are running workshops or trainings, then we ask you to list the topics. You don't need to describe them, just list the topics. And there's a YouTube video that explains what I explained a few minutes ago, with that graphic, what's the difference between the output and the outcome. Outcomes, please spend quite a bit of time on the outcomes. So spend time on the summary, spend time on the outcomes. This is really what we are interested in at the end of the day. We want to know what are the changes that you want to create with your project. What is the impact potential of your project? So spend lots of time on this one. So examples, you can see increase in literacy levels, increased revenue, job creation, and so on. And a few other details, languages. We ask you how you will ensure a diverse audience for your project. And similarly, we ask you about the team. Don't mention names, but talk about your team's experience. What's the diversity within the team? What are the qualifications? And these must be relevant to the project that you are proposing. And then a few other questions. Have you received funding from the IU before? Have you submitted the same idea before? Are there other projects you're inspired by, or that you're trying to replicate, and so on? Budget, total project budget in euros, not just the amount that you're requesting from the IU, but in total. Let's say your project budget is 25,000 euros. And then from the IU, you're asking for 10,000. And then in the comments, you need to mention where is the rest of the money coming from, the 15,000 euros. Who's the funder? Have you applied for funding? Or do you already have the money? And also list the top, let's say 3 to 4 most expensive items in your budget. If your proposal gets selected for stage 2, then we ask for a more detailed budget. This is an optional question, number 17, just for any other information that you would want the reviewers to know. Yeah, you can add it here. All right. Any questions about the application form? Okay, I see one in the chat. The projects have to be self-sustaining, make profit, or can they be once-off initiatives? We encourage you to think about sustainability of the project. Doesn't have to be self-sustaining, but is there scope for local funding, or is there potential for maybe you to work with other partners in order to continue the project at some level? Um, and of course, the other option is to generate profit from the project, so it's self-sustaining in that way. So we definitely ask you to think about sustainability. You can propose one-off projects, but as we know, these kinds of projects have less impact in the long term compared to more sustainable initiatives. Could you share the links of the outreach and education? You will find that on the call website, or you can just Google IAU Office for Astronomy Outreach, IAU Office of Astronomy for Education, or maybe Joy, you can find the links.
I'll leave them on the chat.
Can we add a letterhead template? So the applications have to be submitted online. Let me quickly share the online form, which is the same thing that I just showed you, but you will be submitting online. So the online form does not allow for any images, tables. It's a very, very simple text only form. Show you. Okay, so this is the form that you'll be filling up. Select this so you can see the next page. Yeah, so this is the form that I just went through. You will need to submit everything online. No fancy graphics, tables, images, nothing is accepted on this form. So only text. Okay, can a baseline survey be categorized under outputs? Yeah, sure. You can add surveys as outputs, but think about some other sort of resources that you'll be generating from the project, because the baseline survey might be very specific to a project. The reason that we ask for outputs is so that these can be shared with other people, other groups, other future projects, who may also be able to adapt and use your materials. Oh, I missed something. Okay. Links of outreach education. Yeah, I think I covered all the questions in the chat. All right, any other questions? Do any of the current or past OED projects want to say something? Oh, Lebo?
Sorry, hi, thanks again. The awardee, so who is eventually awarded the award, or is that, should we worry about that in the next stage in terms of, is it the institution or obviously we work for institutions, but probably an individual's names will be put in, etc. So who will be the custodian of the funds?
Yeah,
Thanks.
so we encourage you to start thinking about it now already, because we need a PI, project lead, to submit the application form. You have seen online there is space only for one person to write their contact information and name. So we do need a project lead, even just to submit this application form. And if your project is funded, we typically sign the grant agreement with the project lead. So you are the person ultimately responsible for the implementation, the execution of the project, and the money will be sent to an account of your choosing. So we can send money to the bank account of the project lead or to an institutional account. Just keep in mind that the IAU does not pay for admin charges. Some institutions may charge overheads 5%, 10%. So we don't cover that, which means that if your institution charges 5%, you lose out that amount from your budget. Yeah, I was just asking if any of the OED projects want to say anything about your experience, in writing the proposal, submitting the proposal, what you learned from it. Yeah, Jay?
Thank you so much, Rama. It was an exciting activity to write the project proposal. It was not an easy one because I had to look at the SDGs, and I realized that when we are looking at that, there were so many SDGs, and we had to streamline ourselves to 3 SDGs. Meanwhile, the project could have catered for 5 or so SDGs, but we had to strike out some of the SDGs because we are looking at one. The monies are allocated. When you looked at the amount allocated and the amount of work that we needed to do, we really had to scale down on them to make sure that we are able to carry out activities within the budget line that that was provided. Although we went a bit above the budget line, we had to put in our resources for the passion of the project. We had to do that, and we carry out that. And I think I liked the assistance coming from you people, Rama and the team and OAD. You are really doing a great job to give us guidance, and every time we write to you, you don't take time to respond and to give the guidance. I've liked the way you are really working, and I can the good work that you are doing to guide us throughout the projects. Once the project is done, usually kudos will also come to you for the assistance that you have really rendered to us. We are really appreciating and we are enjoying. We are very clear now what we need to do when we get on the ground. We are very clear in terms of the timelines, in terms of the deliverables that we need to make sure that we achieve, and within the time frame. Really, we are on it, and next week we will be in the field to do our baseline survey, and definitely you will see the outcome. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I promise that I did not plan this in advance. I didn't ask Jive to praise us. Oh, John?
Hello, Rapasamy. Can you hear me? Great. Okay. My name is Dr. John Goldsmith. I'm speaking from Western Australia. And last year we had a Astro-for-Development supported project here in Western Australia. It was actually the first project ever from Australia to be supported. And we worked together with our local Aboriginal organisation, Koya Aboriginal Organisation, and the funding from Astro-for-Development was extremely useful. We viewed this as a fantastic opportunity to do a wonderful project. So what I'd like to just briefly share with you is a comment about AI. AI can be a useful tool, of course, but actually I found that we did not actually need AI to be able to write a very compelling proposal. What I found to be of greatest value is to work with your community, get to know your community and engage with other organisations And the better that you know the development needs of your community, the stronger your project can be. So that's what we did here in Western Australia, and it worked very, very well. And I have a great deal of thanks to Astro-for-Development. So just like the previous speaker, Ramasamy, thank you for all of the work that's been done. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yanela?
Yes, thank you so much for raising my hand. Actually, I wanted to thank for the previous grant to support and the feedback there, because one of my questions is actually going to be on how the interaction has been and the support from the grant program. So thank you for that, and for Jive also for touching on that. So that covers basically that first question, but I wanted to ask, for example, Joyful mentioned there's a monitoring and evaluation team that you guys have. And there's sort of, I mean, my team is very tied to astro tourism. So how can we reflect maybe the assistance we would get from you guys basically in the proposal
Yeah.
itself, and like just how we would go about that? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. For the proposal assistance, so there's this formal process to request proposal writing support, but you can always reach out to us at any point, before the deadline, to get feedback on your proposal or just your concept. Ask us at least a couple of days before the deadline, so we have time to give you feedback. So that's definitely open to and available to all applicants. Monitoring and evaluation. We don't really have a team. We just have one very overworked person, but we are able to provide support. So our M&E lead develops all of the surveys for the projects. I mean, in conjunction with the projects. So what we do is, once your funding is allocated, we meet with you in order to finalize your project outcomes and your deliverables, and then our M&E lead develops multiple surveys in line with your goals, and then there's kind of a back and forth process to improve the survey, and we basically give you ready to use online forms, and of course forms that you can print and use if internet is an issue. And she also handles all the data analysis from the surveys as well. So basically the whole M&E bit is handled by the OAD, so that you can focus more on the implementation of the activities.
So I think, is there maybe something that can be drafted up on the support services that we can leverage from the OAD, basically? Because I'm trying to see, when you were referring to like costs and things like that, there's a lot of basically just the support that you guys provide already takes up a lot of things that would have been budget factors for me. So yeah, just maybe getting a list of
Okay.
what are the support services you guys do offer, and then
Yeah, that's a good idea.
so we can create that in proposal. Thank you.
Yeah. We also have lots of resources, as Joyful was saying, especially for the flagships. There's a bunch of online resources that I really encourage people to use before you design your project or as you develop your project.
I did
Yeah.
sorry, just to quickly tie off that this is one of the best like grants. I do a lot of grant applications, so the resources that you guys do have is something I've gone through, and I really love those, but also the proposal system and how you guys are coordinating that. So just that was my little bit of feedback on.
Yeah, thank you. Sami?
Hi, hello. Sorry, I'm joining from my phone. I just want to share as Ram asked about our experience, as I wanted to share about my application because I now I'm a high school graduate, but back then I was just as my studying at my 12th grade, and I didn't have any idea about like how to write these proposals. I just previously wrote a proposal on a different platform and also got champion, but still the OED's one was a very bigger one than that for me. But one thing that made me feel like, yeah, that's the platform where I should pitch my idea is that I watched a full moon mashup organized by OED, where an anthropologist noted a quote from that she heard much times while staying in South Africa in the OED's office, that it's not about the stars, it's about people. And I am very much rooted in my community. With my people, I do promote curiosity about the stars, learning about them. This teaches us a lot of things, but still, it's just the people who make sense out of it. All these things. And I coming from a village. I'm still living in my village. Where such things are still quite alien, but we are working. And now that I'm working with my project with OED, I'm seeing how much positive responses we are getting, and it actually wouldn't have been also possible without the support of Ramya. He also said that about Jive, that he didn't tell him to praise, but it's true that Ram actually provided a lot of support. Whenever I asked him about feedbacks, he was like, it was so immediate, the responses, and those helped me a lot because I was giving the HSC exam, which is considered to be like, the crucial, most significant exam of a student's life. And my exam was going on, and I had some like 3 days of break, and I just wrote the proposal for stage 2. And if Ram made any delay to response or give feedbacks, then I wouldn't have made it, I guess. So yeah, thanks to you, and I hope to work with OED more. And I would also, although I'm just a little girl, but I would like to suggest everyone here that whoever is willing to apply this year, don't feel hesitant to annoy or disturb Ram. Ask him about feedbacks, and also like engage your community with your ideas. I think that helps more. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, please feel free to email us, contact us anytime if you need feedback on your proposal. I see there's another question from Himal in the chat. What's the one piece of advice to applicants before submission? I would just echo what John and Sami said now. Make sure that your proposal speaks to the reality on the ground. Um, we always hear about these sorts of initiatives, especially when it comes to global North countries running projects in global South countries. You might have heard the term like a parachute project. So people go to a place, run a project, and then go back to their home country or home location. We don't want projects that are completely disconnected from the people that you're trying to serve. So I would say, yeah, keep that in mind. Make sure that you have those connections, even if uh, you don't have those connections personally. Make sure you partner with the right people, right organizations. Yes, there's a question. Can anyone apply? Yes, anyone can apply. You don't need to be an astronomer. You just heard Sami talking. She was in high school when she applied and she got the grant. Uh, astronomy. Benedict, do you want to ask a question? What is the problem? Oh, okay. Yes. we became aware of the problem this morning. I think it should be fixed now. My colleague said that he fixed it this morning.
Oh, okay. I'll just go check it out. Sorry, my network speed is not really good. Yeah, because you complete the calls, but
Yeah.
the percentage
It was stuck. Yeah. We heard
Okay,
that it was stuck on 97.
Okay, I will check it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, Joy, you want to say anything about the Discord? I see you copied the link here.
Yeah, I thought maybe you might mention it since you're already going through the comments.
No, you can say.
Yeah, so we also have an online platform for everyone to join. It's open to anyone. And I think this would also be a great place for you to get ideas from people, share resources, get resources, ask questions. Yeah, but I think that's what I was adding. And also comes with announcements and, reminders, finding opportunities. It's just a good platform to be on in terms of getting information from the OAD that is outside of our social media platforms.
Yeah. So we typically come across opportunities in astronomy and related fields shared by other people in our networks, and we share them all on Discord. We don't send emails out for all of them, but we also have an email list. Maybe you can paste that link as well, Joy.
Okay, I just need to find it.
All right, so we are one past the hour. If there are no other questions, then we will end here. No questions? Okay, thanks everyone. Really hope that you're able to submit a proposal. Please reach out if you have any questions, and thanks for joining today. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.